Hey everybody, it's Sunday morning and I thought we'd take a little stroll around the yard. The sun popped out. It's supposed to be pretty cloudy all day, so I figured while we've got a little bit of sunshine, we may as well get out here and look at some pretty flowers and see what's going on around the yard. We haven't done much in the way of planting garden-wise in most of the beds, with the exception of the bed on the far side that we'll get to in a few minutes. So there's not a whole lot to look at new around here, but there is stuff that's coming in that wasn't here last video I did. These are new. These are cosmos, these little brightly colored flowers. They're past their prime already, so they don't look all that good anymore. We got a few more of them right there. Those are new, but otherwise most of this stuff is not. Our blueberries are finally starting to get some color in them. The catbirds have been out here. Boy, we're loaded up with them this year too. Look at them all. So the catbird's been out here already working on them. It just stands right here on this shepherd's hook as a perch. Hops over, gets himself a snack, and then goes about its business. And then of course we've got another blueberry bush right here, and they feast on that one as well. And it looks like some of those blueberries are just starting to change and get a little bit of blue color to them as well. So we got some geraniums. Again, not a whole lot going on flower wise right now, but everything is just really lush and green and looks really good. The yard really is in need of a mowing. I've actually got to get out here and get some stuff cleaned up. It's a little bit messy, but it always is, so I don't worry about that stuff too much. Here's a few of the potted plants my wife has put together. I really like those black elephant ears. They're cool looking. So we're kind of between the early flurry of spring flowers, where we get all of the, nice early flowering in the beginning of the season. And now we're kind of in that sort of pause in between, and pretty soon we're going to start getting the summer flowers going. All of these Rose of Sharon trees, these will all be in bloom pretty soon. All of our daylilies are going to start blooming pretty soon. You can see this clematis there has already gone off. The sun's beating on my hydrangea there, getting it all shriveled up looking. That's perfectly normal. It'll look fine by this afternoon once it's in the shade again. So this clematis is looking pretty good. And what else do we have going on over here? The fuchsia that we planted, we weren't quite sure how this was going to do in this location, but it seems to be doing well enough. It's got new flowers all over it, good vigorous growth on it, so I'm happy with that. And then of course, as I said, I don't know how well you can make them out, but all our daylilies are just covered with flower spikes. All of these big tiger lilies are going to be blooming soon. Our clematis back there is already past its prime. And it looks like it probably wouldn't be a bad idea to get over here and water this coleus. These plants here are coleus. They're looking a little droopy. Those are new. They just got installed recently. Our hostas have their flower spikes on them, and they're starting to open a little bit. Got in here and thinned some of these hostas out. We've got some caladium coming in there. That's a holdover from last winter. We overwintered it in the basement. We're not usually successful when we do that, but this year we had a couple make it and come out again. So we're definitely getting some flowers going on the hostas here. And in one of my earlier yard tour videos, probably the first one of the season, I talked about one of those types of hostas we were just looking at with the sort of blue foliage. And I said we had one up here that was like the size of a Volkswagen Beetle. And that is it. That's the plant. But for some reason it has not come back this year. You can kind of see how this area here is sort of open and empty all the way around there. That's because this hosta used to fill that in. I mean, it literally used to come out here and overhang the yard. So I'm not really sure why it didn't come back like that this year. It obviously survived and came back, but it almost seems like a large chunk of its root mass must have died off or something and only a little bit of it came back. So kind of surprised. That used to be one of the biggest hostas in our yard, and it is no longer. Once again, we're not going to go back in there, but as I've mentioned before, that really is, or was, a garden area. You can kind of make out the hostas and stuff back there. There's some bowling ball decoration and ornamentation. And then all of this stuff, all these trees and scrub and all that, that's not even supposed to be there. That's just kind of grown back over time. So we'll just walk across the top part of the yard here. Again, not a whole lot to look at. And it's not like I've got any shortage of large hostas. I've got a bunch of them back there that you can't even see because they're just buried in the brush right now. But there's a big hosta right back here. That's got all that color on it. They're everywhere. See, I got several of them back there. And then I've got so many of them up here, I don't know what to do with them all. So as I've mentioned before, if you want hostas, let me know. I'll put my email down below. All of these little babies, I've just got them everywhere. I've got millions and millions and millions of hostas. Well, that might be a slight exaggeration. I might not quite have millions and millions and millions, but I do have lots and lots of hosta. This kind of fern, sensitive fern, any kind of plant like that. If you're interested in it, let me know, and we can make some kind of arrangements. We're not going to bother with up in the far corners. There's nothing really worth looking at up in there. We'll get a view of looking at the house from the top side looking down. I guess this garden every now and again is worth walking across, looking at it from the face of it up here. These are just weeds. These little daisies have just come up. They've been there for years. We never bother with them because they're pretty, but they just keep coming back. And this course is where we've got all of our actual planted stuff, although I dare say there's plenty of stuff in there that we didn't plant or intend to get in there. One thing we do need to do this year is get in here and thin out this fern. This stuff grows like a weed. If you plant it, it will spread. It will grow everywhere. You know, if you've got deer problems, it's great because deer don't eat fern. And if you want to cover a lot of area, this stuff does it quickly. So we got to get in there and clear all this out. That should be all bee balm and all flowering plants and everything through there. And that fern has just kind of swamped it and eaten it up. So this is where the original line of the garden used to be. And this is all just hostas that are just making their way down from seed heads. We seldom go around and deadhead all of the seeds. And so what happens is these seeds fall down, you know, and the seed heads land on the ground down here and they get scattered, and of course the rains and everything wash them down, and over time we get this sort of cascade of hostas flowing down the yard. A lot of these are phlox, so they might look like weeds jumping up here and there everywhere, but those are phlox. Another result of us not really going around and deadheading the flowers once they're done. And you can see all this ground cover, all these daylilies. This is sensitive fern. I just noticed this right here. That's columbine coming up in the yard. We just went out and bought some columbine. That's poison ivy. So we got a nice little poison ivy vine growing right there. Gotta be careful of that one. These are foxgloves, otherwise known as digitalis. And yes, if you're familiar with the heart medication digitalis, that is the plant that it is derived from. So that is one of our foxglove. We should have a bunch of them everywhere. And while I'm here, another thing my wife is going to do is get a lot of this Japanese painted fern that we've got in here. We've got a bunch of it up here, and we're going to try to work on getting that spread out over into what we refer to as the forbidden garden over on this side of the yard. So we'll go over here and have a look at that. This really feels like a discombobulated yard tour. I normally do a pretty set pattern as I walk around, but like I said, today is just kind of an impromptu. I'm out here kind of checking out the yard myself. Just thought I'd bring everybody with me. So this is the garden we sort of, I say we, mostly it's my wife, but I do help a little bit over here. This is the garden that is most actively tended to and added to, and we put new plants in here on a fairly regular basis. You can see this big gap here used to have one of these giant bleeding hearts, and we've ripped that out, and we're now able to start putting some other plants in there. I really like this chocolate astilbe right here. Of course, we've lost our sun. That's one of the reasons I wanted to come out, was we had a few minutes of sunlight. So who knows, maybe it'll get sunny again in a minute. So that's another one of our big hostas. We planted that one ourselves. Here comes Squeeker coming down to say hello. This is one of the ones that, well, this whole bed over here, everything over here is stuff we've planted ourselves. So this one is about waist high now. I guess it's maybe 15 years old. It's at least 10 years old, I know that. We got Squeaker making his way through. There he is. I'm over here. Let's see where he comes out now. Meow, I hear you. There you are. Took the roundabout way to get here, but he got here. So likewise, this garden is kind of between, you know, you can see the flower spikes are up, but they're not quite blooming yet. We get down here, we've got a few of our astilbe that are starting to bloom. Yeah. Got that one that's blooming. And we've also had our, oh, here's a astilbe that's apparently been divided up. This little plant right here is an astilbe, that's new. And this hosta, I don't remember seeing this one either. This must be a new one we got this year, but I really love the variegations on that. It almost looks like it's been painted with a brush. It's beautiful. I see you. I see you. Is that what you're waiting for? Is that what you're waiting for? You want your belly rubbed? Alright, take it easy now. Watch out. Watch out. He will find the most delicate plant that you've got, and he will roll right on top of it. So over here we have taken a lot of the little micro hostas that we have, these little tiny hostas, and we have spread them out. We're starting to scatter them around a little bit too. So we've got another astilbe there that's blooming. This Solomon seal here, I think that's Solomon seal. We've never planted that here either. This is just getting spread around. I see you. Got these little astilbe that are about to bloom. Yeah, I hear you. What else have we got? There it is. I knew we had another astilbe down here somewhere. Now, this is goat's beard, and this is astilbe. So it's really difficult for me to tell the difference between which one is which. I mean, the flowers look the same, the leaves look the same. So I've never really been able to determine, I don't know if you can see him or not, but Squeaker's right in there rolling around. I've never been able to determine exactly what differentiates goat's beard from astilbe, but these are all astilbe, these are all astilbe that are getting ready to bloom. Those are astilbe that are getting ready to bloom. Micro hostas. Goat's beard. Again, the only real thing I can tell is the goat's beard is a lot branchier and leggier and more spindly looking, whereas the astilbe seems to be a lot more compact. Although you look at astilbe like this, and that seems fairly leggy and tall as well. So I don't know. This is our favorite astilbe at the moment that is blooming. Let me get out of the light there. That vibrant red color is just awesome. I've never seen an astilbe that's that red before. I hear you. And we've got these, which are pretty, and these, which are going to get more colorful. These are just starting to open up, but they're getting there. But those are just awesome. Absolutely love those this year. So that's the whole garden with a little bit of sunshine on it. and we're kind of petering out towards the end down here. This is a toad lily. This is new. We just put this in the ground, and then it looks like that is some Japanese painted fern, although it's looking a little rough. That looks like it's just been transplanted as well. So that is about it. That's all I can think of for this side of the yard. And I don't really think it's worth doing anything else. We could take a walk up the driveway, but there's not really anything going on there. I do have a little secret path that goes down through the, we'll call it the woods right there, and pops out at the bottom of my driveway. But I think we can go ahead and forgo that bit of the tour today. Have a last look at this little potted plant. I think next summer, or maybe even later this summer, we're just actually going to fill this hollowed area in with potting soil and just plant directly in the tree stump rather than have a planter sitting on top of it. So I have got this fly that has been following me around for about the last 10 minutes and is driving me nuts. So I am going to wrap it up and call it good. Get on in the house and get my day started. So thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Make sure you are subscribed. You never know what you're going to get with me. I try to do these yard tours about once a week through the nicer weather. The yard looks pretty bleak over the winter time, but in the summer it is lush and green and beautiful, and I always like to share that with everybody. So again, thanks for watching. Make sure you're subscribed, and don't forget this one is my yard tour playlist. So thanks again. See you real soon.